I did hit the wrong button. I hit the wrong button like an idiot because I hit the stop streaming button because I had to pee super bad. Don't worry. I'm very, very smart. Look, I just started the stream. Indeed. No, I hit stop recording. I was still talking and I forgot. I didn't realize I hit. I had to go pee. Sorry about that, y'all. Hey, I heard there's new Horde variant in Squadron 42. When do we get it in game? Is that all you've been hearing there, Zero? How was your trip, by the way, Zero? Yes, I hit the wrong button. I had to pee super badly, and I was just like, I gotta go, and I hit the wrong button. Turn on the music. We're kind of wrapping up anyways, because we've been streaming for like 4 hours. Yo, I had to go to the bathroom and I hit the wrong button. I was recording a capsule, and I hit stop. Instead of hitting stop recording, I hit stop streaming. Good night there, Mason. Yeah, I'll have to edit it off. It's not that bad. I was gonna have to edit it at the end anyways. The best part was that I did that, and now all like 200 people are gone now. So I went from having like 150 to like having nobody watching. My brain has been incredibly fuzzy. It's because I've had to kind of change my sleeping schedule to adapt to getting up earlier and earlier, and the weekend messed me up. Yes, I did have a lot of viewers. Now I won't have a lot of viewers. It's all right though. You make these mistakes and it's fine. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. Zero rated, and then he broke the stream. I'm gonna blame Zero. Yes, the leak will end. The stream will end if you go off to take a piss there, Cindy. I hit stop. I hit stop streaming by accident when I meant to hit stop recording. At least I ended it right. That's how I usually end stuff. I don't think I saw Zero's response though. How did you enjoy? Did you enjoy the con? How did you enjoy Mandy the Vandy? Because I work with JRDF, I don't work for them, but I kind of advise with them. I got to see some of the stuff that they built for the new studio before everybody else did. I'm like, that's neat. So I knew about Mandy the Vandy before a lot of people did. I think I knew about Mandy the Vandy before a lot of CIG employees did. For those of you who don't know, a lot of the decorations that are done in the new Manchester studio were done by JRDF. JL's been doing great. He's been going through a lot of that stuff, and he has an entire video on it, which is really neat. I was a little sad we saw no player flight at all this time. What do you mean no player flight? In terms of like players in Squadron? Yeah, let me kind of give you some context for Squadron, because I think a lot of people, and I think CIG is gonna have to be careful with this. Squadron 42, I know a lot of people are complaining about the cutscenes, but Squadron 42 is a action game. Cut in the same veins, obviously, as Wing Commander, but things like Mass Effect and Halo and those sorts of things. A lot of what Squadron 42 is broken up into is social, FPS, and flight. So there are three major kind of sections that they're designed for, and those sections will intertwine with each other throughout any given mission. And there will be things like rope puzzles and other puzzles and other sort of things like that. So, serious question: what class of ship was the Argus? That was just a BB, not a carrier Bengal class, right? It was a cruiser. The Argus is a cruiser, possibly a battle cruiser. Question, Paul. Squadron 42 2026. Squadron 42 backers, CitizenCon 2025. Probably not. Almost certainly, if it's going to come out, it's going to come out for everyone at the same time. And I know a lot of people are upset by 2026, but people were upset about 2025 announcement for GTA 6 when it was announced in 2023. I was surprised by that announcement, but I'm not necessarily upset about it. What I mostly said about was how CIG sort of announced it and then said, fuck it. I don't know. Man, I wish we could see the prologue in our hands. I don't know if we will or not, though. I think CIG would earn a lot of trust back if they gave backers access to the demo, or to that preview, the prologue. But they haven't even sold Squadron 42 again. Like, they're not even selling Squadron 42 for pre-order yet. Yeah, they call it the prologue, but it's chapter 1. Yeah. Paul, do you think the Squadron 42 will have a lot of replayability? Based on how they described their design philosophy when it came to the missions outside of obviously the prologue, yeah. The prologue is a lot on rails. It's much more of a sort of a linear experience because it's designed to show you what the game's going to be like. And I actually think CIG nailed the prologue because they show you pretty much every element of the game except for flying fighters. They show you EVA, they show you puzzle solving, they show you with like scanning, they show you things like firefighting, they show things like FPS, things like ship weapon firing. They kind of show off the different characters, the universe. They do a really good job of building up what the universe is in this first prologue and what you're going to be doing. And then obviously in the next couple of chapters are probably going to be things like your flight academy and other things like that. So it's sort of a tutorial. You're going to get another tutorial when you get to the flight academy, but yeah. There's also going to be hidden flare items. Yes, there will be certain like pickups that you have to do. But the nature of all of the other missions is that every mission has an objective, and how you get to that objective is entirely up to you. So if the objective is save this person, the question is not, okay, you save this person by doing this. It's however you want to save that person, you can. And that's, they build the levels around that idea, where like a level is a fully fleshed out idea. So like you go to like a base, there are multiple approaches to the location you need to go to in the base. CIG has diversified the enemy stuff, so every time you play the game, enemy patrols may be different. They use a token system for their AI, where the AI are given a certain number of tokens, and those tokens are then randomly spent by the AI for specific traits, for specific types of AI. So some like the pusher AI versus the sniper AI, they'll have different sort of profiles, and that'll be the same thing with like space combat. And depending on your difficulty will determine how much tokens those AI have to spend on every encounter. So each encounter is randomized. There probably is going to be some like very basic or some like very specific story encounters, but a lot of the encounters in the game are going to be randomized by AI spawn, last we heard. So the goal that CIG was hoping to do, from what they've talked about, was that the missions beyond the tutorial section are all going to be replayable because you can play them in many different ways. They want to give the player the ability to approach a problem as violently or as stealthily as they wanted to. You get to fly a Javelin in the prologue. Looks like the ship flight to me. Technically true, though it's not going to be the same type of ship flight as you do when you fly the fighter. The goal of the drop-in and drop-out co-op that they said, at least well back in the day, was that it's going to be a post-release feature. So when Squadron 42 is released, I expect within 6 months for us to get a co-op version of the game. Not a co-op version, but maybe like ways you can play the game with a co-op as a co-op sort of element. But of course, this is CIG, so I could easily see it evolving into something you do in Arena Commander or something else like that, where you have basically co-op story missions you do together, because CIG is insane and they like to do that kind of stuff. Any other questions y'all have? Feel free. This is kind of an AMA sort of situation. I don't want. I want to explore every corner of this game. I didn't have this feeling of connection with NPCs and history since I played Half-Life 2 in 2004. There's definitely a lot of that sort of thing to it. For the general audience, I think having some flight sequences in the gameplay would have been better. I know it's just the intro, but I think it should have been good to show off. I think it's fine for what it is. Is that due to the court filing for the EU UK about the sale of Squadron 42? We have no idea. It's Naylor. Last we heard, there was no mentions of CIG having to not sell things because of some court filings. Last we heard, it was basically because they wanted to change the price. Taking questions about Squadron 42 demo, CitizenCon, basically anything you want to, Klepter, about Star Citizen. My only questions is, did you see my super chat earlier regarding McLaren being called sir? I did, William. I did. It's it's the rank, not the person. A lot of what Squadron 42 leans into is tropes. So a lot of what you see is going to be very trope heavy, though CIG, I don't know if this is a good or bad thing. They're definitely flirting with PTSD. Like, there is an element there of PTSD that's going to show up in the game, and that can be handled very badly, because that's a very serious situation that real people go through. So hopefully it's not tropey, if that makes sense. It's a very delicate topic, yeah. There's a clear scene in that outro trailer that is PTSD. Yeah, where you see like the bridge on fire and Van Duel looking at you in slow motion. That all feels very, that dreamlike sequence feels very PTSD inspired. Anna, are you talking about Spec Ops: The Line? That's the only one that is. We sort of back. I hit the wrong button because I'm an idiot. With your best knowledge, where did the Starlancer come from? They're bringing out as a new thing, or is this from an era of Chris's old game? It's a new thing. Starlancer, the name itself, is a reference to the old Starlancer video game, which was sort of a spin-off of the Freelancer video game done, but that was made by Aaron Roberts. So. Because I know, like, Spec Ops: The Line is the only thing that deals with it, and the only reason why it deals with it so well is because it's heavily influenced by our Heart of Darkness. Hi, for what is the hot fix now, for PTU or live? Hot fix is going to be for live, and then the PTU is what they're going to replace live with once they get that up and running. I hit the wrong button, MGL. It was a good sign off though. Yeah, 2.4.3, the PTU. It's important to remember that the PTU is 3.24.3. So 2.4.3, 24.3 is the IAE patch. So that's the patch we're going to get: the Polaris, the Starlancer Max, the medical Terrapin, and I think at least one other thing. So Well, it's because I was doing the sign off for the what is it called? The capsule, and I hit the wrong button. So it was a good sign off, but yeah. And then I went to use the restroom because that's the reason why I had to go, and I hit the wrong button. I had to play Spec Ops assuming it was just a generic third-person shooter, and oh god, yeah. That's the best way of coming into it. Go play, if you haven't played Spec Ops Line, if you haven't heard of that, go play it, and just play it like a regular third-person shooter, and you will be the best, so yeah. Lore-wise, did half of the Send fleet arrive? The second fleet arrive? That seems about to be about the second fleet. It seems like it was a battle group, honestly, but it could have been a fleet, because usually a battle group is head around one carrier, but second fleet. Real, it's because Astro and Zero have beef. I don't have beef with my vanilla man. Zero will forever be my vanilla man. My vanilla milkshake. I'm only saying this because he's not watching right now. You know, I was surprised we're fighting the Vanduul and Odin as well. No, not too. It's not too surprising. Odin, I believe, has a jump point to Virgil. But I'm going to prepare you right now. This is not a spoiler, but you're not going to go fight the Vanduul right away. The Squadron 42, if you've watched any of the other previews, is not only going to be Vanduul. A lot of it is going to be in Odin, and Odin is going to be around the OMC. So there is back and forth. You got to remember that Squadron 42 is written as this big one long game, and then it was broken up into 3 games. So what we're really playing is the first act of Squadron 42. Act 1 is this, and then they have Act 2 and 3 written and possibly like filmed already. I've seen nothing of him in later promotional material. I think Commander Ironright will survive the intro cinematic. Yeah, but I don't. I think the Commander Ironright was not supposed to be a major character. It feels like they had, because based off of what we heard, Henry Cavill found out that it was being filmed, showed up, and asked to be part of the thing. This was before he became big and famous. This is like just after he was filming Superman. And Chris Roberts was so tickled that he let him come in. So they kind of created the role of Ryan Ironright for him. And so he's sort of the poster child. I don't know or think he will be back. Luna, it's mostly, for me saying that it's mostly is trying to set expectations, because the way it was designed, like the way if you see the prologue, you think you're going to be fighting the Vanduul for the entire fucking game, but it's a lot more diverse than just the Vanduul. And right, yeah. I'm just going to keep messing up names because it gets chat to talk. Do we know where that was where that is stated, that it was split up into 3 games? I could find it at some point, but we're talking 2014, 2015. This was well early in the development of Squadron 42 that they decided to break it up. That's when Aaron Roberts was brought on. Oh, no, so there was a behind the scenes video of Squadron 42. Let me see if I can find it real quick. We can watch it real quick. There you go. It's a 5-minute trailer. This was from 9 years ago. October 10th, 2015. Okay. And this was filmed, I believe, in 2014.
Motion capture is just the body, you know, like the head position, but it's not the facial, not the performance. So all the stuff that we're shooting on performance capture is all the performance in Squadron 42. So the dramatic scenes, you know, people's dialogue, and so we capture their emotions and you know, what they're saying and what's happening on their face to map it all onto their sort of digital alter egos inside the world of Squadron 42. And we'll be doing that here in the Imaginarium stage at Ealing Studios for the next 3 months.
My name is Ian Duncan and I'm playing the player. So everything's from my point of view, and all the interactions that every character has, it's with my character. Kind of cool and different. I'm looking forward to the challenge.
I'm getting my markers on my head and my body. No, I'm getting markers on my body and a camera on my head.
Yes. We wear the cameras and the headgear so it captures the performance.
Regular everyday at work.
We've got this helmet on our heads that actually films every little close-up.
I mean, you can't really get much closer than this. It's going to pick up every single feature of ours.
All those other many cameras and gizmos capture the physicality.
I don't know, 50, 60 or so cameras. I'm just making up a number there. I did mocap last time 5 years ago and it's already evolved.
I think I look pretty sexy. And that's why I'm here. Oh, thanks. Scan down. Just to check. That's the money shot.
Because everyone looks very odd. Wearing like,
That's
you
Sophie
know,
Wu.
all in one, very suits that don't leave much to the imagination.
You feel very self-conscious, but the trick is obviously to lose that self-consciousness and just kind of be yourself within the space and play the character within the space.
A bit like being in a theatre workshop.
It's all in your mind.
Home to the famous Squadron 42.
Yeah, it's like make-believe.
Yeah, it's like being 5 again.
Yeah, it's like being 5 again.
Whoa!
Mental, physical training's been pretty intense. I sat and had a couple.
What's her name? She's from Game of Thrones. She played the Iron... I forgot her name, but yeah.
Cup of tea this morning and then came here.
So you have to go through a series of 90+ expressions, ranging from frowning, smiling, looking up, looking down, left, right. And the combination of all those things mean that they can then control the way that you look digitally.
First time you do it, it can feel very weird. It's quite a test. I love it. I feel very at home here.
From what I gather, Chris is a bit of the sort of George Lucas of this stuff. Really putting you in the game in a way that we don't have right now, where you have emotional connections with characters.
In the old days when I did Wing Commander, I felt like we sort of advanced sort of cinematic storytelling in games back then, and I think, you know, our cast is something that you would have in a movie, definitely, in a way that you don't normally see in games, which is pretty cool.
Cal! He's kind of the charming, famous one.
What took you guys so long? You almost missed all the fun.
I want you to hear this. Sit down.
We had Liam Cunningham this morning, who's playing Captain White.
Liam Cunningham.
I think Bishop's going to be a great character. Gary's awesome to work with, and you know, he's bringing a lot of nuances to it.
Some of you may be asking why undertake such a thing. I can tell you in one word. Victory!
Kid, you better be on your way.
A little bit starstruck.
It's like an extra level of nerdy geek out.
EVA back to your ship.
Luke Skywalker.
that was well over 10 years ago. Well, about 10 years ago.
So much, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
I'm pretty excited to see it sort of come alive.
Gonna be a cracker. Yeah.
Okay, so this wasn't the one that they talked about Henry Cavill. I think it was in somewhere around this time they talked about it. It's around this time period. It was this was October 10th of 2015, around the first Citizen Con. They showed it off. I remember them showing off him arriving on the set. It may have been a Star Citizen Live or during an actual like well, what they called like what a live stream. I think was when they talked about it. Question. I think I understand what's going on, but would you be able to repeat the last hour or so of things that you said? No. Many people feel guilty that Squadron 42 didn't come out earlier, but I'm glad because it comes out, if it came out early, it wouldn't have looked this good. That's basically the answer. Quick TLDR of the past 90 minutes, please. Squadron 42 is good. It looks good. I'm sure it's going to be fun. Spectrum is riding because no NPC crew in 1.0 right now. That's not even the last thing we're going to see that people are going to get mad at. When I always said when 1.0 starts releasing, when they announce 1.0, people are going to get mad because two things. Number one, 1.0 is the release. So people will assume that, hey, I was going to wait for a release for this game. And they'll find out that the thing that they're really hoping for is not coming out with the release of the game. And they're going to assume that it'll never come out and then get mad about it. Number two, it's going to take a long time to get 1.0. So if they say it's not coming out until after 1.0 and it's not coming, and 1.0 is 2 to 5 years away, people are just going to be like, cool, it's never coming out. Yeah, this is not the game I was looking for. Yeah. A lot of people made up their own brains of what Squadron 42 and Star Citizen was going to be, and I saw that when I backed Star Citizen. I saw that early on what was going on, and I kept trying to keep myself grounded by saying I want a game that I can play, a fun game that I can play with a bunch of friends on a spaceship. That's all I wanted, and so far I've not been disappointed. A lot of people decided the game was something that it was never going to be, and they're super mad about it. And then they're going to blame CIG for not setting their expectations properly. Does the UEE fighters largely use ballistics? A mixture of ballistics and energy. Ballistics are more frequent because they have the logistics trained to deal with them, and they're better against shields. So. The best part about it is I don't think the PvP players have realized. If you're a PvP only player, congratulations. Now you have to play PvE. You will be forced to play PvE to unlock the best gear for PvP. You're going to be forced to work with non-combat people to be able to do PvP. You're going to have to play the main story in order to do PvP more efficiently. You're going to have to do things that are outside of your comfort zone if you want a PvP. I don't think that's really set in with the PvP crowd yet. Yeah, but robot guy, what I'm saying is PvP, you can't just go rock into Star Citizen and start PvPing right away. I mean, you can, you're gonna get your shit kicked in because you need, as a PvPer, in order to be efficient, you're going to need the highest tier technology. So it's now you're gonna have to figure out how to get tier 5 as fast as possible. And you'll find out that the fastest way to get tier 5 gear is probably gonna go through the PvE route, especially since you have to build your own ship in that case, and maybe you need to do PvE missions to be able to unlock certain things, the most efficient thing you need to do for PvP. So everything I just said is going to require a PvP player to PvE. And possibly even do things that they don't want to do, or get to know people who aren't necessarily PvPers in order to get them to work for them. CIG is trying to force PvPers into situations where they're not comfortable, PvE players into situations they're not comfortable, our peers into situations who are not going to be comfortable, and industry players that are not comfortable. This isn't going to be Rust in space. It's going to be a lot more complicated. Like, a lot of people are saying Eve, but like, I don't see Eve, maybe because I didn't play a lot of Eve. I'm seeing Star Wars Galaxies, where like players were the real powerhouses of the game, where a skilled player, or a player who has a high level abilities for crafting would make the best gear for people. So if you wanted to get the best gear, you had to know players. The difference is that Eve worked where you controlled a ship. You yourself controlled a ship of what it would be effectively thousands of people in game, but just one person is controlling them. In Star Citizen, it's the scale of an individual person. So like a space station is almost certainly never going to be built by a small organization. It's either going to be built by an alliance of smaller organizations or a mega organization that's huge and is able to keep all of that stuff protected. It won't be just be knowing the players, but where they operate. Since most of the crafting will need a base to do, or those players will need to have good connections with other organizations that collect resources that collect high quality resources. So if a player is a crafter and they can work on their own, as long as they have a base of operations or some place where they can call home, as long as they can get fed really high quality mats, they can make those things. And so players who collect high quality materials are going to be the ones who want to trade with players who have who do really good stuff, because then they can do trades back and forth and stuff like that. It's one of the reasons I really, really want them to pull out a comprehensive summation of their intentions of the game. They need to sit down and write an actual game design document. I believe that they need to retool all of the documents and just release them over time. And they can even just have them do like an ISC thing, and then every ISC that they do a game design brief with Rich, then they release a document that coincides with it. That's like a couple of pages that people can read. Because people don't do game design documents anymore, and that's why the games are shit. 1.0, it feels like 1.0 really identified the parameters of the game they want to make. It did, but it's the high level overview. There's a lot of details that people need to get to understand, because I think like one of the things they didn't really identify was things like space stations. In my opinion, I could tell that the idea of space stations was supposed to be this insanely high level thing that players would make as a group and would require 1 million hours. I remember when people were shitting on me when I said like an Idris would take 1 million hours of gameplay. And people said, well, that is pointless. I'm like, no, these are things that are going to take you time, especially larger ships. And the idea is you take that 1 million hours and you break it up a bunch, you know, 1,000 players, it becomes a lot more manageable, or 10,000 players. And maybe 1 million's a little high, but it's probably not that far off. 100,000 hours, 10,000 hours. Like, I think that's the real problem, is that people don't get the scale. Like, they showed off base building and everything else like that as if it was just like, oh, this is super easy. It's like, maybe like a small outpost will be super easy to build. But once you start building at the scale that CIG was showing, we're talking like really cohesive, logistically sound organizations that have good hierarchies, that have patrol routes, that have like no life. They're companies. They're like real life companies with that sort of levels. I see. The biggest problem I think Star Citizen has is that a lot of mechanics seem a lot of sim mechanics have yet to be implemented. I think a lot of people are going to start to get pissed off when they think their quality of life features are gone. We're getting rated? They're getting rated. Hey, welcome, Becky. Sorry, I turned off all of the alerts. Everybody. Yeah, we're now at 400. We were at 400 and something there for a moment. Oh, welcome everybody. My name is Paul, Berserker One, X-Men Show, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. This is the office hours. This is kind of more of a talky talk, you know, a yap yap. We're just yapping. We're talking about Star Citizen lore, news, and more. We did an entire breakdown of the first level of Squadron 42. I looked at some of the lore aspects, some of the other things that people get. You know, it's very intense in my opinion. But yeah, how was your Citizen Con there, Becky? I think you'll be able to solo a capital ship in the sense you'll be able to fly a capital ship, but I don't think you'll be able to effectively crew a capital ship alone. Enjoyed Citizen Con. What about you? I enjoyed for what it was. Just so that the new backers don't have to sift through 12 years of game propaganda to know that they're not what they're backing. No one does that. No one can. Right now, a new backer can only go off the ISCs and streamers and see what the older players say in current gameplay, none of which are dependable for setting proper expectations. This has been my experience and has been rough. I know I have more patience than most. The issue is a matter of CIG has yet to fully decide on what they were doing until just now. So now that they have a fully decided an idea of what 1.0 looks like, now is the time for them to create those sorts of documents so that people can know what they're looking at. Up to now, it's been mostly, these are our plans, these are the goals, and some of the old design documents, which I think are mostly still okay. They're just a little bit different. Which is ridiculous. The same people that insist on having server blades and just don't care about anything else, they just want to pilot a capital ship all by themselves, which is fine, but they're also the same people who are probably going to get mad when they get raffle stomped by a bunch of drunk hooligans in an Argo cargo boarding them and taking their ship. 100,000 hours per player, just 8-hour days, comes up to about 34 years. For how many people, though? Danny, how many people? Per person what? You know, how many people are we talking? If you take 100,000 and say divide it by 100, that is 1,000 hours. So 100 people working 1,000 hours will be able to achieve that. Or we just say 100,000 divided by 200. That's 500 hours. Are we doing well? Hey, Vinny, I'm doing okay. Is Danny's perspective finally starting to open up? My point is that, like, even 10,000 hours for like an Idris or, like, you know, the larger ships makes sense to me. I said 1 million hours, and then I said I was a little bit over the edge, and I said maybe bring it down to about 100,000. 100,000 sounds like a lot, but if you divide that over 200 people. I said 1 million hours, and you weren't. You didn't say you made a number. You didn't tell me how many players that was distributed amongst. That's the point. Can you solo? Can you get like solo work your way up to a large capital ship? For sure, but it's going to take you a not insignificant amount of time. It's going to take you an insane amount of time to get there. If I made $10 an hour, how long for the pledge store? Well, that's the thing, is that you can buy something like, say, the Idris, but the Idris is stripped almost entirely. The Idris, you don't get like the Idris M, you get the Idris P, and it doesn't come with all the equipment as far as we know. And even then, that equipment is going to be basic equipment. You won't be able to purchase player, like the best equipment that is possible for a ship unless you go in game. The CIG has said a lot of that stuff is supposed to be end game, so it's not going to be purchasable. So if you want to pay for a broken down Idris that's half the cost, sure. You're still going to have to do more work. Unless you get a weapons pack, which is still going to be a tier 1 weapons pack. You're not looking at the tier 5 weapons. We have 177 members? When the fuck did we have 177 members? Why am I responsible for 177 people? Who put me in charge? Oh, that's actually about the same size as the amount of kids I have in school. So, yeah, that tracks. That tracks. They showed that the Metrorusia model at CitizenCon, so do you think that they will feature prominently at the end of Squadron 42? I think it's designed in Squadron 42, but not in Squadron 42 Part 1. From what I've seen and what I've heard, I wouldn't expect the retribution. Not that it's impossible. Yeah. Luna, I mean, that's what CIG talked about this last CitizenCon, was that every weapon, armor, component, clothing, food, all of them are going to have different tiers. So you're going to have tier 1 through tier 5. And to be able to get a tier 5 item of whatever you have to do research, which means you have to grind like crazy doing certain aspects so you can get higher tiers. And so the more you do those research into the different tiers, the better tiers you can get. But you have to hyper fixate on that tier of that one item or that one component or whatever. So to get, say, a tier 5 Idris railgun that you can install on your Idris, it's going to take a lot of time and effort. And it's not going to be kill 50 boars. It's going to be build this many things. Make sure you have this and this. They're going to make it sort of randomized with that. Anyways, upside is all this MMO grind BS is that this org is going to have like 23 endeavors. So you can become specialized into any tier 5 shields for cap ships or something. I love that because it makes great player economy. Yeah, it means that players don't, it's going to be much more difficult for players to be tier 5 in everything. You can just be tier 5 in a specific item or a specific category that nobody else is. Like, I'm going to be a tier 5 brewer. I'm going to do my best to make tier 5 booze, like whiskey. I'm going to make the best whiskey in the verse. Nobody else is, because nobody else gives a shit. But I'll make it, and I'll sell it. But will that whiskey make a General Lee run, Paul? Look at that, Du Bois at it again. I like good whiskey. I give a shit. What's going to be hilarious is like what's the research path for making the best, Tavaran Ghosts whiskey? Is that just going to be me making a bunch of booze, or is it going to be like me getting stupid blind drunk and trying to survive? Go on a spirit journey. Find a Tavaran, beat him in the face, and let him tell you his secrets. Probably bourbon. I can't wait to come onto the AstroPub. What planet is it going to be on? It's not going to be on a planet. It's going to be on a ship. Right now it says 600i, so if they ever get that working, it'll be a bar in the 600i. It's the Explorer version, which I know doesn't have a bar, but it'll have a cargo deck. Worst comes to worst, I'm going to put it on a caterpillar. So you'll be able to come into a caterpillar and enjoy it. Are you upset that research blueprints aren't going to be transferable? No, it makes sense. If somebody is really, really hardcore going into a research tree, then they should be the only ones who make it. $890 is too big. $890 isn't nearly as portable, and it's not really a good bar. It's a yacht. It has a bar, but it's like a restaurant. Lawful or unlawful for space operations? Yes. Phoenix is okay. It needs an overhaul. I think the right vibe for the bar that I'm trying to go for is the interior of a caterpillar. Hey, Astro, why do you have cyber eyes already? Methanol. What? I have a 600i for the pub. The problem is that the version I have for the 600i is an Explorer variant, which doesn't have the bar. I heard the stuff on tiers. I said like the idea during the stream, MMOs need tiers for gameplay, but done right, like Destiny 2, rare, legendary, exotic tier system. Yeah, it's kind of effectively what they're going to be doing with Star Citizen. It's just they don't call them rare, legendary, and exotic. They just 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Will they be joining the mercenaries? I don't know what that is, Bitewell. Ooh, Caterpillar would be nice. I do have a an ironclad assault. That would be absolutely stupid, and I love it. The ironclad assault using the fabricator to make booze. Because it's got a fabricator on it. It's got a small fabricator. So it's like, what are you doing? I'm making booze. Out of the 3D printer? Yes. This is now a booze printer. I have an Executive Edition 600i, Alex, but the Executive Edition is the Explorer version. Is that where you're getting the freelance space ranching? If you do mercenary work. Question: what would be the incentive to have other orgs try to invade other org space stations? Will there be harsher penalties for dying if your ship is destroyed? Probably not. But space stations are likely going to be large hotspots of material, because space stations are also where they have dry docks. So if there's a space station that's got a dry dock, it means they're making capital ships. And it's going to require an absolute shit ton of material, high quality material, to build capital ships. That's a large amount of high quality material being stored in one location. Seems like an awful, tempting way of stealing a lot of stuff you can steal to use for your own self. Isn't there a mercenary or criminals faction? Yeah, they're called they're called the Council. I want to add, there is a weirdness with the tier system that doesn't make sense to me. Weapons, armor, and other items were only tier 1 through 3. Ships were only the thing that could go to tier 5. Did they say that the weapon armor and stuff are like only tier 1 through 3? They may have other, they may go up higher. They may have just been using the example. I'd have to go back and look at the actual video again. Which org will we be part of? Well, lore is likely going to be part of the Academy of Sciences, because that is our bag. It seems to that there is a section of the Academy of Sciences which is recovering items and returning them to them, which is what we do. It is kind of our thing. For those of you who don't know, I run an organization called the League of Relic Enthusiasts. I believe the pitch that I gave, the tagline we have is preserving the past from the future. Saving the past from the future. We are a group of amateur archaeologists who put the AR in archaeology. We participate in gunboat archaeology, which is you have item, we would like that item. You can give the item or we will shoot you. Good old British Museum archaeology. I don't have a link to it. It's just lore. It's called the League of Relic Enthusiasts on the on Spectrum. So their system is totally 100% stolen from Foxhole, and I'm completely all for it. It functions in the same way. Higher tier vehicles usually get focused on and blown up. Question: Guild system 1.0. Can you join more than one NPC guild at a time? No. I think you can have affinity with more than one NPC guild at a time, but you have to like flag one NPC guild specifically. So each guild will give you a specific bonus for maining them. And so that bonus will carry over into whatever you're doing. Gunbloat, yes. The difference is that the UEE doesn't have a law preventing lore from repatriating artifacts from from the culture of origin to the culture of origin. Exactly. Fucking love Sherman, man. Can you do a video on the factions before they become relevant? I will. It's to the point where at least 2 CIG employees have reached out and said, "Man, I can't wait to see your lore video on the orgs." And I'm like, on the guilds, and I'm like, what? Oh, okay. I guess I'm doing a lore video on the guilds. Do. A cat. Could have sworn they had a Galactopedia article on the Academy of Sciences. I'll have to go look through them. Don't they only have an article each between them, though? Yeah, they don't have much, so I'd have to go through them all at once. Can we expect more spooky lore videos for Halloween again this year? Not unfortunately this year. I've been too backed up with other things. My plan is to do a spooky lore video for Halloween the next summer, and then have it in the banks. There's the Interstellar Transport Guild, which we know about pretty well. It's actually one of the older guilds. Oh, I know where it is. Hold on. Give me a moment. Am I still logged in? I am. Subscriber gear. Go to jump point. Okay, not there. Boop, 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 boo. I believe it was... It's Celebration Week. It's one of the jump points. I'm looking through it. Virgil LTD. Yeah, I'll have to look at it again. Really liked your commentary on the latest Squadron 42 reveal. The one I just did. I have to make it as a dedicated video as well. So I'm watching you right now because my beautiful game doesn't work. I know, Jar Jar. I know I'm second fiddle to it. That's fine. Star Citizen really isn't functioning right now. It's not going to be functioning probably for a couple of weeks while CIG works things out. They'll get to it though. They always do. Yeah, I hit the wrong button there, Joe. I was supposed to still be streaming that, but you know. C'est la vie. Video's not in good shape. Nothing is in good shape right now. So my love of life is definitely not all insane. Just came to inform me that we're having a date tomorrow, date day tomorrow, and that we leave at 5 a.m. It's midnight. Go to bed there, Anna. All I know is the Kraken will be worked on after Ironclad, so maybe when Squadron 42 is released, we'll have the Kraken. I don't know. I look frozen to you. No, I'm kind of looking through some of the things. I just was just glancing over at the comments to see if there's anybody who'd commented on the thing I just did, and there were a lot of people who watched the Sitcon Hangover stream I did, and the funniest part about that was someone said Star Citizen videos are dropping in views like Disney stock, and I'm like, what? Are people so brain poisoned that they think that like Star Citizen is failing? Are you kidding me? To give you context, there are 2,000 views on that stream. It's a stream. It's not even a video. It's like a 3-hour-long stream. In the last 2 days, over almost 1,000 people have watched my latest lore video on the Gladius. Almost 300 people have watched the complete history of Star Citizen lore Part 1. It must be buggy. I mean, you can't even log into the game right now. Yeah, but that's not what they said. They said Star Citizen views were going down. And it's like, that's not true at all. Like, not even. You can log into the game. You just can't play the game for more than 15 minutes. Not for me, Shogai. Shogi, if people are watching me to the degree where they're watching 2,000 on a live stream, my average views for a live stream are a little over 1,000, and that was released yesterday. I literally heard the guy on Angry Joe show saying CIG was running out of money and they were desperate, and why they fired 100 people during this year, based off of a article written by somebody who did not show any sources nor proved any of those factors. And they're still hiring people. Yeah. It's like, it was clear on that article. Like, I think Tom Henderson is usually pretty good. And the first article that Tom wrote about Star Citizen seemed to be fairly accurate. He was obviously using internal emails, and it seemed CIG didn't seem to come out and say a bunch of those things. But his second article felt very slapdash. It felt rushed. It felt completely incoherent. It sounded like he got a bunch of information from a bunch of people, a lot of whom are probably people who were dedicated to see Star Citizen fail. And once they got that like level of people, he was getting conflicting information, because a lot of the stuff he was saying didn't make a lot of sense. Like, Star Citizen was failing, like it's running out of money and they fired half the staff, but they're still forcing people to come into work. What? It felt like what he did was that he had an idea and he did a lot of research and invested a lot of time and effort, realized he had basically nothing and it was an incoherent mess, but he needed to make up some of his investment. So he dropped the article right before CitizenCon because he knew there would be a lot of interest in CitizenCon, and hoped that the increased traffic of searching for Star Citizen would catch his article over anything else, so he could make back some of the money. Yes, Tom stated there would be a Squadron 42 demo in Chapter 1. That was in the first article, Star Citizen fanboy. Not in the second article. The opposite, AstroPub. For him to get the max clicks, he would have had to drop it after CitizenCon. He would have gotten, that's not how that works. He would have gotten swallowed up by all the hype. He knew that. It sounded like he definitely got some information from inside CIG, at least for his initial article. But the second article is completely different. It's almost disjointed compared to his other articles. If you read some of his other articles, I wasn't familiar with his game before he released the first article, and then I read up some of his other ones. He's usually very good at this, and there's a reason why he has a good reputation. He typically uses open source evidence and then combines it with internal knowledge, or, trust me, bro leaks, to kind of back up his information. He usually writes in a very neutral tone and tries to be as professional as possible, even with sensationalist ideas, because he knows that he's coming at people swinging pretty hard, and so he wants to make sure he doesn't miss. The language in the second article was incredibly, personal, almost. It didn't seem like his writing. So it just felt weird. It felt much more like something Kotaku would have cooked up 5 years ago based off of some half-baked rumors than it did like his first article, which still was much more intense, but at least it had a little bit more validity. Which lore video? Zero Mercy. Yes, which is a reprint from his first article, fanboy. He said the same thing in the first article. I mean, you can go to bat for this guy all you want, fanboy. I know you like to do that. You like to come in and with the ironic name and swing at CIG, but that's all he had. Because the claim that 100 to 150 people were laid off at CIG, that's a big claim. Because for those who are unfamiliar, CIG US has about 300 people in it. Majority of the staff is in the UK. And we know their numbers as of 2022, and they haven't really hired much in the US since 2022. Maybe 4 or 5 people, maximum 20. So 150 people would have been over 50% of the staff in the US. There is no way that half the staff was laid off and we got absolutely no leaks of any kind. That half the staff was laid off. We do know that CIG was doing reorganizing, and there were a couple of people who got laid off or moved to other locations. But 100 to 150 people was a lot of people. Listen, fanboy, you can go to bat for this guy all you want. What I'm saying is the first article was, a little touchy, but it seemed legitimate. The second article seemed like he was smoking some crazy pipe, my man. There are people who legitimately track this shit in the community and in the anti-fan community who want to see CIG burn. And they couldn't find more than 5 people that were laid off. Like, we know there were multiple references to people in the UK and in Montreal who ended up getting laid off. They actually had very visible and very public debates and discussions about CIG and CIG's practices, that they were very angry at CIG. He didn't even reference those. So he didn't even do research into stuff that the Star Citizen fan community has known for a while, that has been brought out there for a while, which tells me that he didn't do enough research to find that information, which was easily accessible and probably being fed to him by a lot of people who were eager to see CIG burn. Like, that's just, it just seems weird. Hey, Kinji. Anyways, I wanted to kind of, like, because it was brought up, and I just wanted to talk about it, how it just kind of felt weird. All I know is that marketing has been way more aggressive this year, which would back up his claim. Where's your evidence that marketing has been way more aggressive this year? What's your metric compared to previous years? So you have no metric. It's, trust me, it's your vibes. You're doing vibes-based aggression. A poll isn't aggression. That a poll is whatever people feel like it. That's not how science works, my dude. That's not how statistics works. They do. They have a budget, a year-to-year budget with their marketing, but they haven't published this year. They haven't published last year yet. They usually publish they'll publish 2023 at the end of 2024. I'm serious, dude. You come in being like Star Citizen is failing, CIG fired half the staff, and marketing is super aggressive. It's like, cool, that's a great statement. Can you back it up with some facts, my dude? And if the answer is because it feels like it, there's lots of things that feel like it. It is pointless. Trust me, I'd love to see like metrics. I would love to see CIG's demographics. I'd love to see their click-through rate. I want to see if their marketing is successful. 1000%. The marketing nerd in me would be absolutely on that shit forever. It's about the same. The number of sales. Do you have the sales numbers? Do you have the numbers there, fanboy? Can you give me the numbers of the difference? Okay, so if you're too lazy, then you can't find the numbers. So you've conceded it then. Take the L, buddy. post through it. That's right. Post through it. That's how it works. Is PG working finally? Can we talk about our choices to buy a Starlancer Max and why it's the right choice? I mean, I have a Starlancer Max. That's because I'm part of the problem. I would have sold Squadron 42, honestly. I'm surprised they didn't sell Squadron 42 now that they have an announcement date. Same here, I'd love to see their KPIs. I want to look at the CRM system. Yes. Do I have Squadron 42 if I'm concierge? I don't know. I know you have Star Citizen if you're concierge. I don't know if that's the case with Squadron 42 though. I mean, still, it's an announcement year. I mean, if the rule is, if the reason why they didn't announce, they didn't do pre-sales was because of some law about an announcement date, I believe that would probably meet minimum standards for announcement date, but they still haven't sold Squadron. So there's something else. I never really believed the idea that the reason why they stopped selling Squadron 42 was because of some vague EU policy or rule. It always felt to me like there was something else that was going on that they wanted to do, and it had to do with a price increase, because obviously it was $45 and it's probably going to be more than that. So I still have hope that it's going to be a $59.99. I think $60 is the perfect price for it, because it's their first game. So like selling a $70 title, I don't care if it's a AAA or amazing title. CIG doesn't really, I don't think they've really earned the right to sell it for $70. In the absence of transparency and data, conspiracies will abound. I mean, Iris, let's be honest, even with data and transparency, conspiracies will be abound. That's just how the world is these days. OCG doesn't care if they've earned it, and they ask, can we get it? I get the emotion there, Chris, but I'm not saying that CIG, like, has to earn the right to sell something at $70. What I mean is, selling it at $60, in my opinion, would be a better marketing move, because it would set them apart from other games that they're attempting to hit the quality of. And even though it's only $10 difference, it means a lot more to a PC gamer that you're buying a full price game at $60 instead of $70, because that's what they're expecting out of the game. So it's a way of getting more sympathy, brand loyalty, I guess, whatever. People are more willing to open up their wallets for $60 than $70. Even if it's $10, it's just not that much difference. Yeah, it's goodwill. And I think CIG coming into Squadron 42 needs to earn some goodwill, because they don't have a reputation. A lot of games that are like a lot of companies that have first time games, even large games, will sell their games for like $40 or $50. Not because it's worth $40, $50, or even that it's valued at $40, $50, maybe even more than $40, $50, but it gives them an intro. Yeah, it's a mental thing. It doesn't make any sense, but, you know, humans aren't reasonable. We're not rational creatures when it comes to that kind of thing. They don't have to cover the game, the same development costs as other games normally do as well. That's the other advantage. Like, they don't have to make $1 billion they don't have to make $750 million in the first week to cover the cost of the game that's already been covered. Like, it's crowdfunded, so it's already been, the cost has already been handled. They have that advantage. So being able to sell it at a lower price would definitely garner more sales, in my opinion. Hi, I'm here with the other guy's evidence that says that has 5 additional sales that they have by this time last year. But it's also because they have ran more events than last year with the ICM, in case you missed it, sale. So they've run more events in game, and they also had the in case you missed it sale. I assume that's what he was talking about. But 5 more sales alongside 5 more events isn't really more aggressive. It just means that they had more events. Because CIG runs events all the time, and when they run events, they typically do sales with the events. If CIG would sell... Yeah, I mean... All right. Here's my crazy idea. Absolutely insane idea. Hear me out. For the first week that Squadron 42 is out, you can buy it on CIG's website for $42. Again, yeah, fanboy, you're saying you feel like the marketing was insane. There's lots of drama. CIG, the game has always had drama when it comes to it. I remember drama when the F8 came out last year. I remember the drama when, let's see, I'm trying to think of some of the other big dramas. Master Modes obviously was this year's the big drama. There were sales for, I mean, this is also the same year where they sold the what's the little Mirai, like hover bike? It's not the Spirit. Pulse, thank you. That was one that they sold it and everyone was okay with the price. It was like $25. So, like, I don't see the vibes-based reasoning behind marketing was more aggressive. I think marketing was probably less. We've seen less ships for sale this year than last year. Because this year we've seen the Pulse, the Nursa. The Storm was last year. I'm trying to think of what else sold. The Phoenix? Is that right? The Firebird. The Firebird, the Peregrine, the ATLS. No, the mech suit wasn't affecting real gameplay. It was drama for the sake of drama. Don't overextend it there, SC fanboy. The NPU VT, yeah, that's another one. And then, yeah, now we've got the CSVM, the CSVSM. I feel like there may have been more sales last year, but I could be wrong about that. Yeah, this land claim drama was the big thing. Yeah, the MK2 was this year too. That's right. Yeah, the F7A Mark II. Yeah, as a dedicated hauler, anybody who said that the ATLS was a pay to win has never fucking hauled with that damn thing. I absolutely fucking positively am a mech whore. Paul Shelley, mech whore, might as well be on my fucking tombstone. And that thing was, I was using it when it wasn't even viable. It is about as accurate as like using, is the Hulk trying to gently move a egg. That thing just yeets things around. It has no accuracy. It has no subtlety. It's very hard to control, like in detail, compared to, you know, regular tractor beams. So as a result, unless you are very, very skilled in it, it doesn't actually increase your time to load and unload. The best it does is it's a little bit faster to unload because you don't have to be as accurate with it. But it's not nearly as efficient as people think. And people being like, oh, well, it was they created a problem and sold the solution. You could still use the tractor beams and everything you could use the ATLS for. There was no problem. They said that they were going to remove that ability in the future. And then they have the ATLS for sale right now in game. So it's no longer a problem. It was a bunch of people who weren't paying attention, who didn't actually do it, and were just getting mad because it was they didn't like the price. They were forced to add it in the game because of our bitching. Yeah, I'm glad. I think CIG messes up all the time. I think CIG should have ships and vehicles in game, in at least renting in game the moment it hits the game. Like I think the both the Max and the CSV. Cargo should be rentable, and of course even the Polaris, all of those should be rentable in game day one. They will be, actually, because it's IAE, so they will be rentable in game day one, because that's how they work. That's how they should work, because it gives players a taste for what it is. I would love to have a spider miner. I don't know where I'd put it, but yeah. Yeah, CIG does a really fucked up things when they take it from the store from like the real life store to game store. Like this isn't something new. CIG's been doing that for years. And I did like the Atlas sale. I bought 2 of them because I'm part of the problem. So I canceled you out, Aimless. Yeah. You can only drive one. I know. I have one to drive and one to stare at lovingly. So Paul, why did CIG lie about the Galaxy having building module, Kappa? That is definitely a trust me, bro. I have no idea if that's true or not. It just sort of, it seems like it's an X feels thing. I mean, I can ban you if you want, fanboy. I've always felt it weird that you come in here only ever to talk shit about CIG. And that every time I bring up that you only come in here to talk shit about CIG, you get defensive and then start talking about what you like about Star Citizen. But I have rarely ever seen you come in to talk good about CIG. You only come in here to stir shit. Which is fine, if that's what you want to do, as long as you're respectful within it. But you tend to push those limits, buddy. He's got ads so he can't hear you? Okay. That's fine. No, don't give him a sub. I can't really blame them for being critical of CIG. We should all be. But this is that if you want to be critical of CIG, you can do your exclusive being critical of CIG on Spectrum or other content creators' streams. I am not here to be your sounding board for how much you hate CIG. I'm here to talk about the game, be critical about CIG, talk about what I like about the game, talk about the lore, talk about dumb shit. That's what I'm here for. And to talk about vibes-based things, when you bring down the vibes, I'm going to have to remove the thing to chill everything out, to make everything balanced. And mechs. I am here to talk about mechs. Oh, yes, and Warhammer. Do not talk to me about Warhammer. Oh. Base building, though. I'm excited for base building. I didn't think I was going to be excited for base building. I think I'm more excited for crafting than base building, but... What's my one-sentence take on MechWarrior 5 clans? How dare you refuse my Bakal? But Bachal? My one sentence is, it's good, you should buy it. That's 2 sentences. I don't care. MechWarrior 5 Clans is perfect. Not perfect, but it's probably one of the best MechWarrior games I've ever played. If you have 4 friends, buy it. Have all your friends buy it and go play it. It's great. It's also on Game Pass. Yeah, so if you have Game Pass and friends, get together, go stomp around, kick some ass. Kick. Should I get clans or finish mercenaries? Both. You're not going to really finish mercenaries. Mercenaries is an open world sandbox game. You can finish clans, though. Clans has got an end. It's got a great story. Will you be able to run a shop out of your base? Yeah, that's actually one of the things they talked about. Oh, Mercenaries Career Mode is great if you can get friends. Paul asked if you're doing lore tour this IAE. I'm not sure if you answered. I didn't see it there, Luna. Yeah, that's the plan. Because I'll be off for Thanksgiving, so I'll definitely be doing a lore tour. It's on Game Pass, yeah. How hard is it to get to Timberwolf? It's the end game sort of level. Crafting has become the thing that Star Citizen is probably going to be the most known for. Like before this, I thought it was going to be the dynamic economy. And I think now that they have crafting and how they put it, it's going to be the main thing that people play Star Citizen for. And I'm okay with that because that's what, like, that's quite legitimately what Star Wars Galaxies was really well known for. And I like that idea. How am I feeling about instances? Instances or insurance? I like the idea of instances. I'm a little... I want to know what they mean by instances. I think it's probably more likely going to be like event instances or like dungeon instances, like the Area 18 endless dungeon they want to do. I don't like the idea of doing instances just randomly. Question, what is CIG's plans to combat insurance fraud if we can all get level 1 insurance? You have to update your level 1 insurance. And it's also timer. Basically, Joe, expect your claim timer to jump by like 200 to 300%. The dynamic economy, I think, is still going to be a thing. It's the way that they talked about Star Sim is that it really controls like the missions and such, the NPC side of things. But because the gear you get, the best gear you get is not going to be from NPCs, but from players, the player economy is far more important for players who want to maximize their experiences with Star Citizen. What you're going to get with the NPC economy is ways of grinding cash and reputation and those sorts of things, and different ways of interacting with the game, but it's not nearly the focal point of the game as much as crafting has become. We're not going to get the Ben enrichment for 1.0. Good night, Anna. It really feels like a spiritual success for Star Wars Galaxies, or the idea of Star Wars Galaxies. Yeah, I feel like this is the closest we would ever get to something that would come near to what Star Wars Galaxies sequel might have been. There was never a planned one, but you know. Starchitect. That was they wanted to trademark that just so that that morphologist didn't steal it. Oh. As a high priest of the Cult of the Endeavor and a card-carrying member of the original Banu Merchantman when it originally came out for $250, I know the pain of not getting your ship ever. I heard a lot about Star Wars Galaxies, but never got to try that one. I do remember Ultima Online, though, and what became of the player housing situation. Yeah, I think CIG is trying to do their best with things like instancing to not have the same problems that they're having currently, especially when they start scaling up to thousands of people per shards that they want to do. Oh, Star Citizen doesn't come to be known for its premier crafting game. It's niche. It's a space game. Known for its ships, so I hope the flight experience reflects that. I don't think Star Citizen's flight is ever going to be DCS in space. I think it will always strive to be really good, and I think that they'll try to kind of tighten up the FPS experience, but it's clear that CIG views FPS as sort of not as important as flight. That may get improved, but based off what I saw with Squadron, it didn't seem like it was that important. The gunplay seems very lackadaisical. It's not very toned. Could be better. It may just be a polish issue. But also, the flight is clearly moving in a direction that's becoming... The complexity is coming in how you manage the flight, not necessarily the flight itself. There's a 1.0 ship page? I'm looking forward to crafting it. Speaking of never getting your ship ever, I'm finally high possibility getting my Perseus. Nice. Last time CIG had a quality guy in charge of flight mechanics, he got poached. Still hope flight gets better, at least with the physics. Do you think we will be better to have generalized fleet when 1.0 drops, or to have more specialized fleet? It really depends on what you want to do. I just don't really understand how player bases are going to work across shards, because all what they said is you're going to be a Fallout 76 situation. Your Fallout only shows up when you play. Probably. The idea of 1.0, though, I think, is that 1.0 will release... When 1.0 releases, you will have regional shards. So North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia servers will have their own shards. So like one shard per region. So yeah, your base will only show up on the EU shard if you built it on the EU shard. Yeah, 1.0 is going to be after they've done adding a lot of all the content and bug testing the crap out of it. It's not going to be perfect, but yeah, I think CIG is going to definitely have at least a year of bug testing, basically betaing 1.0 before it actually releases. Stars and planets are 1/8 the size of Earth, literally huge. Star Citizen won't run out of problem as Ultima Online for houses. I played UO for 8 years. The issue comes down to, like, I don't think everyone's going to build a base. Some people are just going to buy an apartment in, you know, Castra. But there's going to only be so many apartments in Castra. So how do you deal with that? Because even if there are 12 apartment complexes with 100 people per apartment, that's still only, what, 1,200 apartments you know, there are millions of people in the game. Even if you copy that across 4 shards, you're still looking at like not nearly enough people if everyone wanted a Castro apartment. So when it comes to like housing outside of bases, it's definitely going to be instanced. I think North America needs 2 shards, East and West. We'll see. CIG seems to think they can get North America done into 1 shard. But, you know, CIG thought a lot of stuff, and then 1.0 happened. Hey, Mosh, how you doing? They're definitely going to be charging rent. There's definitely people living off of ships as well. Johnny was saying something? Thank you so much for that raid, Subliminal. How you doing, buddy? Welcome everyone to Subliminal Stream. My name's Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelly, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We'll get a good one for you. Hey, Subliminal, we're doing a 24-hour Captain's Table next week, or this week, this Saturday. If you're interested, I've got slots open. Let me know. I hear you and I are disagreeing on some of those ship slides, so it'd be fun if you want to come on and talk a little bit about it. Yeah, you don't have to do this 24 hours. I do slots. So I have like 2.5-hour slots. There are 8 of them. It's on the content creator Discord that I have. So if you want to join us, feel free. It's for charity. We're raising money for Gamers Outreach. So that's by the way, we're doing a 24-hour live stream for charity on this weekend on Saturday. So I'm going to start at like super early in the morning for me, about 8 a.m. Eastern, and I'll be going until 8 a.m. Eastern on Sunday. So we're raising money for charity, and I'm going to bring content creators from all over the Star Citizen universe to talk about a year in review and CitizenCon kind of retrospective, just general feels and vibes. So you can come hang out with us for an entire day, and I get punch drunk as I go along. There's a hotfix server on the pull down on my launcher. I don't know who that is. So that's them testing to see if the hotfix is working well. So it's just the current patch with extra added stuff. So you'd have to download the entire patch again to test it. They usually run the hotfix for a couple of hours to a day or so, and then they if it works, they migrate it into the live servers. But it's literally just the live servers. You can actually keep playing the hotfix even after it's been migrated to the live servers, because it's just the live servers. Do we disagree on the teased ships? Apparently, you were saying that the big ship that looks like the Mirai Guardian is not the Mirai Guardian. I think it is, because I think it's just a weird angle. I think a lot of the ships that look weird are they're at a weird angle because CIG's fucking with us.
Take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
And Jagger just resubscribed for 2 months.
Thank you so much.
What do you think is your favorite game loop if they all implemented?
Smuggling. Thank you so much. And Jager, thank you so much for that. You're a very important pupper, very impressive, very pedestrian. This is your fault. The reason I'm drinking out. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. I don't know for sure, but why use human for scale and change the camera angles to fuck that up? Because CIG wants to fuck with us. I think like the one that looks weird, like a weird Drake one, it has a really tiny human. I think that's just way in the background. I think CIG's intentionally fucking with our perspectives so that we don't quite understand what we're looking at. Because otherwise what we know, pretty much they're going by scale. And that big Drake ship, for some reason, ends up in a scale between like medium ships. It's like medium ship, big, tight, gigantic ship, medium ship. I think they're fucking with our perspectives with the different figures and stuff like that, because they're trolls. They do it at a weird angle, and they're doing it with weird perspectives in the background. Question: I remember YouTubers used to claim that CIG has law obligations to release Squadron 42 in Q1 2025. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't one of those YouTubers. I don't know where they got that legal requirements. If you're talking about the like Calders, the investors, to give you context, the investors probably knew about 1.0 and about Squadron 42's release before we did. And we do know that one of the founders of CIG, Ortwin, retired, and so their stocks were up for sale, and the Calders, the investors, actually purchased his stocks. People are often misunderstand the Calders and the investors who are the outside investors who are involved in Star Citizen. They're not just some random money-making people. They're friends of Chris Roberts. That's why they invested in the first place. So what I'll say is, yeah, their investment's gone up over the years. In this year alone, it's gone up. It's not law obligations. They have some financial deadlines with investors in 2025 and forward. I believe it is they have the right to pull out some money, is what it is. You can post a screenshot if you want to. A name, is that what you want to? This goes back to that fucking article. Like, all of this shit's been floating around the community for years, and yet that article mentioned nothing like that. It's like, why is this article that's supposedly really well researched doesn't have any of these like big drama things that people have found that they could have easily brought in for more sensationalism? It's really weird that they didn't do that, but they brought up this weird shit that seems like it's half made up from people who there's no sources from it. It's like really fucking weird. Yeah, right. It's not an obligation. Options are always made like that. Okay. Hey, Azura, how you doing? Saw an interesting comment somewhere that Mirai silhouette could be the back of a new Connie, but not sure. That doesn't seem like to see what CIG would do. All right, I'll take a look at it. I'm gonna go to bed here shortly because it is far too late. Oh, they do have some of those on there. Yeah. I don't know if these are actual, like, guaranteed arrivals, though. Because didn't they say these are just work in progress? Let's see. The ultimate test. MISC. They don't have the Endeavor. These might be the ships that are actually coming out. because they don't have the Endeavor on there. So this is just a list of all the ships. Here, I'll show you all what I'm talking about. It's a little low quality, but I didn't realize this screenshot actually had all the ships. Talon, Blade, Glaive, Prowler, Freelancer, Starfarer, Starlancer, Hull, Reliant, Prospector, Expanse. So the MISC Endeavor is not here, which means that the Endeavor isn't making it, which means it's not just a list of all the ships that they have. Kartual, Nox, Santuk Yai, Pulse, Fury, Razor, Guardian, Eclipse, Saber, Vulcan, Retaliator, Gladius, Reclaimer, Idris, Hammerhead, Redeemer, Avenger, Vanguard, Javelin. Argo is Atlas, Mole, MPUV, SRV, Raft, Sulian, Centurion, Carrack, Hurricane, Terrapin, Gladiator, FC Lightning, Gladiator, Arrow, Hornet, Valkyrie, Spartan, Liberator, C8 Pisces, Ballista, and Hawk. We know this is probably wrong because we know that there's at least one more version of the Atlas chassis, because there's too many Atlases now, from Anvil, which they're going to be releasing in the near future, probably in the next 12 months. So this isn't everything. This is not an exhaustive list. This is just what we know. Nomad, Mustang, Hoverclad, Pioneer. But of the ones that are releasing, this seems like this is at least what setting some examples. They want to say the Ranger. Okay. Galaxy, Mantis, Scorpius, Apollo, Polaris, Ursa, Aurora, Zeus, Lynx, Perseus, Constellation. Notice that there is no reference of the Arastra, nor is there any reference of the Orion. I think it's the Orion, right? So yeah, the Arastra's not on here. Caterpillar, Vulture, Herald, Cutter, Ironclad, Dragonfly, Kraken, Mule, Buccaneer, Corsair, Cutlass, 400i, 100i, 350R, 600, 300, X1, 890 Jump, 85X, M50. Did they fucking drop? Hold up. What's the ground vehicle from Origin? The G12, right? The G12's not there. The Odyssey's there. Oh no, the Odyssey's not there. Ooh. Yeah, the G12's not on here. A1, Ares, Hercules, Mercury. Like, we also know that like the new Crusader starter ship isn't on this list, even though they mentioned it. The Merlin, Archimedes, Defender, and Merchantman. They did repeat it in a silhouette though, because they repeated the yeah, no Genesis Starliner, yeah. Well, they have the Guardian. They also have the Intrepid in there as well. Isn't the blue ones? People just don't think it's an Intrepid because it's just a weird angle. They also have like the Starlancer TAC on there. We already know it's coming out. We also know that the what is it called? The CSV, like base builder, that's on the silhouettes on there. Like, we know that's on there, but we already know it's coming out. So there's a couple of those sorts of things. The Merchantman's on here, so yeah, they definitely do the Merchantman. Interesting what they're choosing not to use. Because effectively what's getting cut is for 1.0, is the Endeavor and the Odyssey. Nothing in the Aegis, nothing in Argo, nothing in Gatak. They have the Legionnaire, they have the Gladiator, they have the Liberator. So I don't think anything's really getting cut in the Anvil range. Nothing in the Consolidated Outland. Nothing in Grey Cat. Nothing in Tumbril. RSI is losing the Arastra and the Orion. Drake is losing nothing. And Origin's losing the G12 of all things. Why is it losing the G12? Ranger made it. Right here. Endeavor, Odyssey, Orion, Arasta, G12, and Raylan. Yeah. It's just the Sulin. Because they forgot the G12? Because they always forget the G12? The Vulcan's not there, you're right. Is the Vulcan in Aegis? It is. Vulcan's here. It's underneath the Retaliator. Oh, you're right. The Expanse is not there either. No, Expanse is there. Right here. It feels really random if that's the case. All of those, if it was just sort of like there for aesthetics. Because all of the ones we just mentioned, so let's look at it. Like the Odyssey requires like a very specific type of refining. It's a bigger ship. It's like pretty massive. The Arastra is needed to be able to build the Orion, and the Orion's obviously going to need a reconcept. The Sulian, or the Raylan is a completely different alien design that they have to do. And again, I think, do not kill me for this, chat, okay? Hey, Red Monster, how you doing, buddy? Do not kill me for this. This is not my opinion. It's what I think CIG is internally thinking. I believe that CIG thinks they can accomplish 1.0 in 2 years. I don't think they'll say that because it would be stupid. They'd be laughed at for saying that. Just as Cindy says, as Cindy is laughing. But I think it's more likely going to be 3 to 4 years. But based off of what they're saying, it seems like that's what they're shooting for, is 2 years. They're dumb to think that. I'm not saying CIG has ever been anything but ambitious in their ideas. Robert, this is not hopium, my dude. I'm not trying to spread hope. I'm just saying, based off of what I'm seeing, it seems like CIG has their own ideas. I don't think it's right. But as I said many times ago, CIG, it's put up or shut up. Like, you can't come into CitizenCon 2025 like you did in 2024. No one gives a shit. No one will care. This is going to sound like copium, but I do think they're going to be pushing for both in 2026. I believe they'll be pushing for both. I'm under no illusions that say that 1.0 is coming out in 2 years. That sounds insane. Erwin, I will care. Why would they push Squadron 42 to 2026 because of server meshing delay? There's nothing to do with server meshing with Squadron 42. I think what CIG will probably do is hit a beta, or they'll release 1.0 in it, like they'll release 4 point whatever, and they'll say this is the last patch before 1.0, or like this is we're going to be mostly focusing on like balances and like optimizations from here on out before we hit 1.0. But they'll have all of the content in that will be a 1.0 content patch. They just want to patch it, you know, maybe 6 months of them patching it and playing and letting players fuck with it so they can do resets and stuff like that. I think if they reached that sort of state when Squadron 42 is released, they'd be in a good position. I would say that sounded more crazy if it weren't for the fact that CIG was showing off most of the crafting stuff in Gray Box. Like base building, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm more expecting CIG to release the first versions of base building in like sometime between March and June of next year, around the Invictus patch. I'm not saying massive bases, and I'm saying the pushcart and maybe the CSV. Like small to medium bases with crafting as that first level. I always join live streams when streamers make me giving predictions. I love to see it. Me personally, I'm very hopeful that Squadron 42 will be out in 2026 and Star Citizen follows shortly after, but they're probably under immense pressure to make sure that their polishing phase of Squadron 42 makes the game live up to the hype, even though there might be more devs working on Star Citizen nowadays. Squadron 42 needs to meet expectations or exceed them, especially after 14 years. I agree 100%. Paul, you're talking like a crazy person. Drink some water. Like I think the Q1 or Q2 patch is the monster hunting patch, base building and monster hunting patch, and then they'll expand with sizes of base building towards the end of the year. The three big things that I'm expecting at the beginning, the first half of next year, is monster hunting, base building, and Nyx. And I think those are all very doable. If they can get 4.0 by the end of the year, which they will. What are your thoughts on the goofy looking Drake silhouette? I'm calling it the Drake Lobster, even though that's not its name. I have no idea what it is. Delamar looks beautiful. No, I think, Johnny, I think Nyx is coming in, I think CIG is coming in hot next year. They kind of have to. They need working missions. Who the fuck said they need working missions? CIG called it a manufacturing. It didn't say base building. It was called manufacturing. It was never called base building. It was called manufacturing. We all assumed it was base building because that's what it sounded like it was heading towards, but yeah. Star Citizen Mark II when? Never. CIG already said that. What raid comes after the sandworm? Whip crab! Whip crab! Or Kazi, or the Boreal Stalker. The Stalker. For those of you who don't know, there are 3 major creatures that will exist probably, now that we know about them, will exist throughout the entirety of UEE space. The Stalker, the Crab, and the Worm. So the Valakar is a thing. The Whip Crab Valakar is the Sandworm. And they wanted to show off different versions, so obviously these things exist all over the universe now. Likely because some jackass decided to capture them as babies and spread them around the place so they could make some money, and then they had a very accelerated evolution, because why not? The Whip Crab is a hive creature. It's a creature who has a queen, a mother, who is 3 stories tall. and controls and has mind control over its small children. And they disguise themselves as rocks. So when you look at them, you just see a rock, and then the rock just transforms into a crab and then eats you. So it's like, whereas like the worm is sort of like a big boss you fight, this is sort of like a mini boss with a swarm of ads that'll attack you. And they're all about the size of a 1-story building. And then the stalker is like, it looks like a giant polar bear crossed with a Yeti, with a Bigfoot. They originally were native only to Microtech, but I think they're gonna, because I saw different variants that they saw in there, so I think they're a genetically engineered creature that escaped. So we go from gigantic size to big but not as big, not kaiju big, but still big, to smaller, like human size, but now they're everywhere. So we're going from, in terms of scale, in terms of size, then we get the smaller, you're going to get probably more volume. I recall correctly, when 318 was in PTU, you had talked about how the longer this patch takes, that it would end up pushing stuff way behind. If that was you, do you think we're happily wrong with that, or do you think it affected as much as assumed? I think it happened. It definitely pushed things back. We would have had server meshing in sooner if 318 wasn't as bad. Yeah, it's definitely a Rachni. The Rachni are the no. What was the worms in Mass Effect 1? I forgot what they're called. What about the hydrogen-filled bugs? Those aren't going to be like the epic monster hunting. They're just going to be like, kind of like the Kazi grazers. They're just going to be everywhere. I don't know if they'll make them or not. I love them, though. I love the blind oni crabs. Thresher Maw, thank you. That's what the Volokar is. It's a Thresher Maw or a crate dragon. I hope so. I hope Xiphopods and Hurston will be a thing. I think Xiphopods are an interesting creature that I'd love to see all over the place, but we'll see. Someone asked me earlier, like, what system do I think is going to come after the first 5, and it's Magnus. Magnus is an easy slip in. Because when we get the first 5 systems, we're getting a medium security and 2 high security systems, and then 2 lawless systems. So what you need is a low security system, and Magnus is a low security system. It's still lawful, still in the UEE, but it's in fact not a system that exists, like, that has a lot of security in it. And it's also connected to ATLS, which is another high security system, which is a huge system. So love the Xiphopod. Yep, it connects to Castra, Terra and Castra. Yep. Cathcart's too far away. The thing that Magnus has as well is that it's the headquarters of Drake Interplanetary. So, I mean, come on. That's probably 1.1 right there is Magnus. If they maybe 1.2. Because I think CIG is going to do 1.1 is going to mostly be stabilization and making sure things are fun. I'm just happy about Nyx. I'm just happy about Castra. Though I agree, Luna. I think us old heads, when the youngins get to Nyx, next year when you youngins get to Nyx, just know you're not going to Nyx for the first time. You're going back to Nyx. Nyx is coming home. All right? You don't understand. It was taken from us, snatched from our hands. It was a beloved friend that was stolen from us. And now it is coming back home where it belongs. I'm also hoping for Bremen. I think it's another good one. There's a whole issue that their database ends up becoming the bottleneck rather than server meshing. Signs are already happening. The database can't keep up. There's no current solution to that issue. That's mostly speculation, though, unless you have some sort of like information behind it. There were some issues earlier they had with the database, but they seem to have dealt with it. I mean, lag ski, yeah. For 1.0, I would really like to hear about melee combat, or at least something in the next year. I thought melee combat was something that was supposed to be like dodge and kick parry, kind of Dark Souls-ish. I don't know about Dark Souls-ish, but I'd love to. I would also like to see how melee combat's going to work. All right, I've been streaming for far too long. I streamed for 3 hours and then an additional 2.5. Thank you for hanging out with us here at the AstroPub. If you did enjoy this, please sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so on Twitch. Make sure you hit that Twitch on YouTube. You can do it on Twitch if you want to. Hit the follow button here on Twitch. I am live on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Wednesdays and Thursdays, I go live at 8 p.m. Eastern. On Fridays, I go live at 7 p.m. Eastern, but usually around the same time. And on the weekends, I go live at 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday and Sunday. This weekend is going to be special because I've got this long 24-hour captain's table that I'm going to be doing, kind of a year in review for Star Citizen, where I talk to many content creators about stuff. Right now, I'm going to look at the current level. We've got Crucian, Botox. We've got Access 0096. We've got Victoria, Buster the Destroyer, Radar Ranger, Darge, Red J, Nazarus. We've got a lot of folks who are going to come on, and I'm going to try to get us more people. I'm going to try to guilt trip Zero to come on, and other folks like that to see if they can come on. Maybe Morphologists if I can get them to come on, so we can talk a little bit. So the idea is to just talk. Year in review, goods, bads. How is CitizenCon? Is it we're in good position and bad position? Captain's Table is going to start at 8 a.m. Eastern, so 7 a.m. my time. I'll have the list of the times and the guests on there tomorrow. I'll post it tomorrow. Because right now I've got 2 people for everyone except for slot 5, which is at 7 p.m. my time, 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Slot 7, which is 2 a.m. Eastern. And slot 4, which is 4 a.m. Eastern. So I only need to get 1, 2, 3. I only need 4 more people to kind of full slot out, so. Ender can come on. What did we learn today? The blind oni crab is edible. It is edible. Anything is edible if you hit it hard enough. But yes. I learned that I type more bullshit when I have a few drinks. That's kind of what happens. All right. Anywho, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.